My father used to say to me all the time, they're never going to give you your due. No matter how hard you work, no matter how hard you try, no matter what hurdle you jump through, just expect that they're never going to give you your due. So you're going to have to outwork them. You're going to have to outrun them. You're going to have to outthink them. And this is a very common narrative. And what it created for me was a willingness to labor and not be respected, to labor and not be appreciated, to labor and not have my efforts acknowledged for years and years and years inside of organizational structures. So what it did was it lowered my standards in such a way that I did not take care of myself in those environments. I did not appreciate myself in those environments. I wasn't respecting myself in those environments. As a matter of fact, I took on the role of being my own oppressor in those environments. Oh, you should have done that better. Oh, you should have said that quicker. Oh, you should have been perfect on that presentation because you know they're going to hold that against you. This is what I had internalized. And this is what I then began to perpetuate as my reality. The problem with that is when we operate inside of that, not only does it become a self-fulfilling prophecy, but we agree to trade our happiness, our sense of self, and our sense of fulfillment to prove somebody else wrong. To prove somebody else wrong who may never get it. And that's the place where it becomes really harmful to stay in systems that have no desire or room or space to acknowledge anything other than the status quo.
In the beginning, Rha, I called you Rha the Liberator, and I always find that in talking with you. And one of the ways you've helped ignite a liberation process in me has to do with buying in to the scare of scarcity. And that's a phrase that you use in Intentional Ambition. And you've mentioned this scare of scarcity a couple times because I think it's so much a linchpin, if you will, in what keeps us from standing tall, shining bright, really claiming our aspirations. This notion of, well, there's only room for how many people to have those kinds of roles, and aren't those roles
Yeah.
already taken? And I won't be the one that rises to the top. Help us break this trance.
Yeah. The greatest gift that we can give ourselves, Tami, is to heal the lie of not enoughness and all of the ways in which not enoughness permeates our existence, whether it is there is not enough or we are not enough. On some level, all of us are operating from this place of preventing loss. And so when we look at those places where we've confused sacrifice with suffering, or where our threshold for tolerance has become so distortedly high that we have mentally, spiritually, emotionally actually checked out in order to survive it, it is because we believe on some level that we are preserving some form of loss. And we've been taught in our society that it isn't okay to accept any form of loss. Like, even if you didn't want it, your worth or your merit is still based on how well you can hold on to it. And that ridiculousness, that's the bubble we have to burst. That belief that we need everything. We need to be everything. We need to have everything. We need to want everything. We need to do everything. We just need what matters. And we get to define what that is. And if in our definition of what matters, we begin with a belief that we are whole, as opposed to we are broken or we are wounded, which is so much of the narrative that so many of us are trying to reconcile, because those seeds have been planted deep at a very, very young age, whether through spiritual doctrine, whether through cultural indoctrination, whether through societal or systemic obstacles that we bump up against. Our ability to embrace the truth that we are actually whole, our ability to embrace the truth that we actually do deserve to be happy. And I could almost weep when I say that one, Tami, because a lot of people don't even know that they deserve to be happy. They can't even locate that anywhere in their body. And certainly not a belief that your work can be a source of joy, happiness, fulfillment. Well, that for the 1%, right? We come back to 1% of the population, sure. But the 99% of us know. And it's those ideologies that have us held hostage, have us creating and being the wardens of our own prisons. When we're able to break that open, when we're able to challenge that, then we do start to make different choices. We do start to make different decisions. And I do think that that is part of what's happening post the pandemic. I think we are unhooking from the traditional success story. Now, we may not be clear about what the new narrative is yet, but we know that we're no longer willing to uphold the old one. And my book is for those who recognize they're not going back, but they may not yet be quite clear about how they want to go forward, or they know how they want to go forward, but they want to be affirmed in the way in which they move forward. And they want to be intentional in the way they move forward. So this is all about you getting to create a new narrative about who you are, about what you want, about what success really means for you, that may have nothing to do with all of the material trappings that you find yourself surrounded by. And a willingness to come to the truth of what really matters for you, especially given what you've navigated over the last 5 years, no matter what kind of pandemic you had. We're different now. We're hip, we're awake, we're aware. And it is time for a new story, one that we control, not one that's being fed to us. And that's the opportunity, and central to our ability to break open the not enoughness.